Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industry. Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 74 of the Empowering Industry Podcast. This is coming out on September the 20th. What a great day. And I'm your host, Charli Matthews, and I'm joined by my co-host, Bethany Womack.
Hey, Charli, and hello to all of the listeners joining us today. Thank you for choosing us every week like you do, and leave us a rating and a review so that other people can find this show just like you did. Today on deck, we're going to cover some social media. We're going to preview the news from Empowering Pumps and Equipment, and then we have an awesome interview to share with you today. And so we're just excited to get going. But Charli, tell me about I already know awesome week that you've had.
Yes. I love when I have an awesome week, to share with y'all. But, I think it was just being at work, feeling healthy, feeling like I'm getting things done. So really just back to basics of what do I normally do? I'm doing kind of some August things in September, which is okay, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed, looking at what we need to do for our partners moving on, what we need to do for our team for 2020, and just preparing.
2022. What we need
exactly.
To do for
what am I doing with the dates and everything this morning? Yeah. So for 2022, I'm just really excited about what we have and what we have been able to accomplish during the pandemic season, if you will, and looking ahead has been really great. Now, one thing that I've been working on is being able to walk 3 miles and, really just stay active for 45 minutes. But I got to tell you, as I'm preparing to do this walk for water for Grumpus, they're the sponsor of that. I have been trying to get 3 miles on the treadmill only. And that's so hard to do because I am bored by the time I get to 2 miles. I'm like, okay, I got to change this up. So I go and do the bikes or the weights or whatever. But I want it to say like 3 miles on the treadmill. So any hints on like what to do to keep myself entertained during that would be awesome.
Trash TV on an iPad.
I forgot my headphones. So
back episodes of Empowering Industry Podcast will definitely keep you entertained.
I agree. I did listen to a podcast while I was running. What about you, Bethany? What was your week like?
Yeah, one of the highlights of my week that I was going to share was producing the Empowering Women in Industry podcast that came out this week.
Yes, I listened to it this morning.
Shannon is wonderful. And let me just say, it's really been a pleasure producing that podcast and just watching how much Shannon's grown over the past year. And she's so confident interviewing these people and finds amazing women to share information with us, and even timed this one out perfectly because tomorrow, which will be in the past for you when you listen to this on Monday, but September 18th is International Pay Gap Day or Pay Equality Day and Equal Pay Day, International Equal Pay Day. And she had on a woman, Michelle, who is the director of Equality Pays, just to talk about all the nuances that go into the pay gap and how we can address it. And I found it just fascinating. So
it really was.
Go and listen to that episode.
I completely agree.
Yeah, sorry. I'm so excited.
What is she getting? What is she doing?
I have show and tell. Everyone watch this on YouTube. Tom Furnival, who was an interviewee on our podcast a few weeks back, his wife wrote a children's book that I pre-ordered and it came in.
So cute.
Yeah. Shout out to him. Thank you to your wife for writing such a wonderful book that I get to read with my boys. And that made my week.
It's an important topic, right? The not so friendly friend, mental health for our kids is important too. I loved it.
Setting boundaries and being a kind person, all things that I want my boys to know and appreciate as they get older. And one more thing for my week. This week is my niece's birthday. So happy birthday, JC. My nephew's birthday. So happy birthday, Cam. And my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Nancy.
Nancy's birthday. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Okay.
I love her.
Now that I've taken over monopolized, thank you. Now that I've taken over the show, let's get social.
We love when you take over. the show.
I can't help it.
Well, we skipped something. We didn't tell them about our virtual meetups or the Empowering Women updates.
Go
so do we
for
want to
it.
do that? Okay.
Yes.
So Empowering Women is October the 21st. So this is exciting. This is really another part of our week that we've really been working on. We've got the speakers out, which we can talk about. And we've got, just the nominees that came in. What an just amazing group of people. But for you, Empowering Women, the conference and gala and fashion show is going to be October 21st in Chicago. That's during WEFTech week. It's the day after WEFTech close. Stick around. If you can't be there, there is a virtual option. And we do have some sponsorships if it makes more sense for you to send your whole team through a sponsorship. We've seen that happen lately too. So jump on board.
Yeah, our hotel deadline is actually at the end of September. So when you're listening to this, you've got about a week left. If you still need to book your room for WEFTech, stay where we're going to stay at the hotel with the Empowering Brands team. It'll be really awesome. And then be on the lookout on our social media for all of the speakers, the program content we're sharing. And then we're about to start sharing next month the award nominees as well, which are just I love shining a light on these women who are doing amazing things in the industry. And I think, the most fun content to view throughout the year. So stay tuned.
Because it's examples of real world stuff that, these are people that are making it happen, doing it every day. And you can meet some of these women at our virtual meetups. The Empowering Women one is Wednesday, October the 13th. That's every second Wednesday at 11 Central Time. And then if you're listening to this when it comes out tomorrow, Tuesday, September the 21st, we're going to be having a meetup at 3 p.m. Central Time. Join us. It will be great. We have those every third Tuesday. So put it on your calendar and join us.
Love it. Pre-register for those so you can get the link. It's in the show notes. And we're excited to see you all the time.
Yes. And as you have been doing, which we'll get to, stay connected with us by, mentioning us at Empowering Pumps or using the hashtag Empowering Industry Podcasts. We love to see that and just get to know you better.
Agreed. My shout out this week, I talked about her at the top, but Shannon, she's just doing amazing things. And I just wanted to say thank you to her and just also point out how just wonderful of a person she is. She's always just very kind and is always asking about my family and cares about my well-being as a person instead of just like a team member that she works with occasionally. And I've come to really enjoy working with her. And so I just wanted to tell her thank you.
Yes. And I have loved the podcast that she's been creating too. Just, I can't wait to see what she does next and all the things around this. But one thing that I'm really excited about is I get to interview her later this afternoon. So I put on a little pink and glam because we both like a little glam. But I'm excited to just be with her and hear her story. So that'll be fun. I do have a shout out that I want to mention, because I find like when you ask somebody for something, they do it. And so we have some new subscribers to YouTube because we asked last week on the podcast. And I just want to thank you for being our new subscriber on YouTube. Andy Martin, who I interviewed, and he'll be hearing his story soon. I see him as a subscriber, even though he was listening to our podcast earlier because I could tell. But now he's officially a subscriber. And then Sandeep, Mehta, I think that's how you say your last name, is also a subscriber. Thank you. We'd love to hear comments, or not hear them, but sure.
See them.
Send us the audio clip. I love it. But yeah, see the comments in the YouTube channel. So thank you. Look forward to just getting to know you better too.
Yes. So while we're talking about YouTube, we are starting a 3-part series all about YouTube to share with you on our Let's Get Social segment. This started because I really have made it a goal of mine to grow our Empowering Brands YouTube. And so I've just been researching and reading all these things.
She has.
We're getting there. I got some more things. Stay tuned. But as I'm doing all this research and looking at it, I started thinking, this is great information that I think our audience could really use, especially marketers in B2B that are doing social media strategy and video strategy. And I think it's great information that I think will up your game. And, a rising tide raises all boats. however
She
that
loves that
saying
quote.
goes. I
You
do. I
do.
say it
You
all the
do.
time and I can never get it right. Every single time I try to say it, I need to pick a new one. But the more viewers we have on YouTube, I think it's just better for the industry as a whole. So
Yes.
here we go. We're going to start with the user stats that I found from Foundation Inc. online. I'll include the link in the show notes. Charli, start us off, please.
Okay. Well, I am going to talk about the user stats. Thankfully, Bethany put all of this together for us. So we're going to run through it. There are 2 billion monthly active users on YouTube. Still, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
Over 100 countries all over the world, of course, all over the world, are there, and I just think that's really cool. And I also think that this stat that the baby boomers and Gen X being the largest growing demographic, that just tells you that this is where the information is being housed, and this is their preferred way to get it. Now, I do believe that if you check on that, the growing part is kind of we're getting there. My son has been there for 10 years. Like he's been watching YouTube for a while. And then 73% of US adults are on YouTube. So I think that that's that demographic there with the baby boomers and the Gen X is because this is where we're getting our information. 90% of users say they use this to discover new companies or products, which again, I mean, all these stats are just like people are there, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the whole the baby boomers and the Gen X being the largest growing demographic, that's just to reassure people like me and people like you who are like, YouTube's for my kids. Like
Right.
that's where the young kids go to watch videos and stuff. It's not like more people are of all demographics are on YouTube. They're there for you. I promise you,
Yes.
your audience is there.
Yeah. And by the end of this, I think they'll be believers, Bethany.
Yes. Okay. So content marketing stats. We love a good content marketing strategy and love how we can wrap up content and use it strategically to get more sales. So for YouTube content, 80% of US marketers believe that YouTube videos convert sales. That's what I want to do.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Convert a sale. Yes. It is out of B2B marketers, it's the 4th most valuable social media platform. The YouTube algorithm actually prioritizes videos with higher average watch time, which is something that I didn't know prior to all of my research. So when you think about that, you really need to be thinking about how long you're making your videos, how interesting you're making your videos to help you show up higher in the searches. Because if people only watch a 10th of your video,
That's
might
right.
not be great. And then over 75% of Fortune 500 executives are viewing YouTube videos. Those are people that I want to attract, that I want to see our products, that I want to make a sale to. So,
yeah, I agree. I think we've just got to know that this content is out there and create things that people want to use. And I've sidetracked just for a moment. I was looking at one of our very first podcast show notes this morning and where we talked about TikTok. And I do agree with what I said earlier. Like it's not going to stay around like as far as for B2B, like for TikTok. But it's because that longer video, like not super long where you've lost everybody, but these videos where you're sharing good informational content are key. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the usage stats. So I think this is important and hopefully will make you want to do more on YouTube.
Yeah.
Usage stats. So it's not even just the stats. I think it's the feeling that you get that you're putting stuff out there that's important. Okay. So, but it's the second largest search engine followed by Google. Okay. 3 billion searches per month. More than 70% of these views come from a mobile device. My kid is over there watching YouTube on his phone versus a computer. And I think that's where I prefer, which is, we'll get to that later. Again, I can't get through a bullet list, Bethany.
He's not taking over your computer, so it's fine. I mean, my husband watches YouTube on his iPad to fall asleep like every night.
That's right.
It's a mobile device. That's where people are watching your videos. Just accept it.
That's right. So 81% of American adults say that they watch recommended videos. And so this is why I want to create and be there and use it so that I know how people want to obtain that knowledge. What do we need to do to be able to suggest a video, right? To recommend a video? Do we need our own platforms? What does that look like? So
Well, and
I'm
that's
excited about
even
it.
Yeah, that's even beyond that. That's like, we really need to get into the nitty gritty of how the YouTube algorithm works so that you can know what kind of keywords to put into your videos so that YouTube will recommend your video when they're finished watching a video. That someone just watched a video about how a compressor works and they're like, oh, hey, here's this podcast from Empowering Industry. I should watch that too.
Yes.
But to kind of sum it up, there's billions of people on YouTube spanning all age groups and demographic, the second biggest search engine. It's a platform you really can't afford to ignore right now. We've talked in previous podcasts about the importance of video and video strategy, especially since the start of the pandemic when we're having less face-to-face time with people. And so I think this is just a natural progression of that, and a place where you can culminate all of your videos to be able to share with people. And when we come back the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about strategies for what you can do with this information and how you can get more subscribers and get more sales through
I'm
YouTube.
really excited about it. Yeah. And, it inspires me because as we look at our own system and what we're doing on YouTube, I realize that if I want to comment, I'm going to comment as Empowering Brands. And sometimes I want to comment as myself. So I think I need to update my personal YouTube channel to make sure that personal professional YouTube channel to make
personal
sure
branded.
Yes, that it's branded. And that, so I'm excited about doing that and updating and being more engaging, which is, as a team, what we've been focused on over the last couple of weeks, engaging on social media more and strategically. So excited about that, Bethany.
Me too. Okay. Also excited about getting to the news. This is where we're going to preview some news coming out on the Empowering Pumps and Equipment newsletter, and we're going to start with the person of the week.
So a dear friend of mine, Mark Johnson, he is amazing. If you haven't met him, please do so. Reach out to him. He is one of the best in the pump industry. I'll give you that. So he is the AODD Business Development Manager and OEM Southeast Southern Regional Sales Manager for Milwaukee, America. So he's close to me down here in the South, but I've never met him in the South. We've always been at a conference somewhere. But I just have to say, him and his wife both are just remarkable human beings. And, I love what he says in his write-up, but I'll let you have this part, Bethany.
He basically said, once you get into the pump industry, you can never leave, and how it rings true with him and his friends and colleagues. And even if business cards change, they're the same people. And, he's been in the industry 30 years, and he says, you can never leave, but why would you? And when I read this, I laughed to myself because I, like many people, fell into this industry. A woman that I had worked with had gone and gotten a job at the Turbo Lab. And then she's like, hey, Bethany, we've got this opening that you're underqualified for. And I was like, okay. And she's like, we get to do some international travel. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll apply. And then all of a sudden now I'm talking about industrial pumps and big
That's
turbines.
right.
And I have out of my league, or at least I think, and I have to learn all this stuff. And then now I'm like, I can't imagine having a job not in this industry someday. But I'm always like, how did I get here? And why am I still here? Like,
it's just, it's true. You just fall into it. You're stuck here. But like Mark said, then you're like, you're not really stuck here. It's a choice and you love it. And it's because it keeps the world running. And
we've got awesome people.
Yes.
And make me want to stay.
So the other thing that was in our first show notes was the essential. We are essential, right? And so the pump industry is essential, and that's why we're here. So tell us about these essential people. We love for you to nominate other people. We find a lot of people too, which is great, but check out his feature on the website or in the newsletter. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to our newsletter at empoweringpumps.com. And you'll get this in your inbox. But we'll give you a little highlight. My first story here is from Vaughn, Chopper Pumps. They are doing a webinar and they are talking about giving your digester an organic diet. This intrigues me. Okay. And so I'm like, let's talk about this. This is the keys to a successful co-digestion program. We'll include the link so you have all that information. But co-digestion can divert organic from landfills and produced renewable energy, which also I would love to dive deep into renewable energy. If anybody wants to talk about what produced renewable energy is, that sounds interesting. But as you know, it isn't quite like throwing away. Well, I say as you know, you probably don't know either. This is new to me. So it's not like throwing away food into your digester, right? So there's a lot of different things that come into play here. But join Vaughn Company as product manager Steve McComber. I'm sorry.
McComber?
I'm sorry.
I have no idea. I'm sorry. Steve.
Sorry,
Steve. Steve, I apologize.
Yes. So join Steve and Eric on this webinar and you'll learn about this stuff. You'll learn how to receive and classify organic waste, the impacts from different factors, on what that does to the digestion part of that, best practices in maintaining healthy co-digestion process, and you get to ask them questions. So I feel like I got to, can I be on this webinar because I have some questions here. And I think it's remarkable though, that we're looking at our waste to see how we can use it for energy, how we can use it for wastewater. This is what's new and how we're changing kind of that energy transition of the world. And this just happens to be in wastewater that we're talking about.
And tell us when it's happening.
Oh, yes. September the 28th. And that's going to be at 8 a.m. Pacific time, which is where Vaughn is, and 11 Eastern time.
Yeah. Awesome.
In the morning.
At night.
I always forget that part. AM.
It's a rousing Tuesday evening, everyone. We're going to learn about digestion pumps.
I think that happens.
Yeah. Okay, the story that I'm previewing for everyone comes to us from Grumpus, and it's about understanding the risk of stagnant water to reopen with safety and reliability. So the premise of this is that a lot of people are going back to work in a workplace, in a large building, and facilities that have been shut down, possibly for a year or more because of COVID, or have been operating on minimal capacity, and now more people are going back. But one of the dangers in that is what's called Legionella bacteria.
I've heard of this at a trade show. I think it's something we absolutely need people to be thinking about.
I read it and was like, great, another thing that I can have in my nightmares as I'm thinking about this. But luckily for us, people like Grumpus and other really smart people and company in the industry are figuring out ways to address it. So what it is, it's a bacteria that's common in wet and humid environments that can cause an illness like pneumonia. And the immediate concern is that because of the prolonged shutdown, bacterial growth gets worse. So in pipes that water hasn't been moving in, you can see this bacteria. So the most common way to treat it or treat water that's at risk of spreading Legionella is with a strong dose. Let me put my chemistry hat on here. Of a biocide like chlorine dioxide.
Yes.
And so this is where you can use programs that will do digital dosing. So it's equipment to digitally dose at-risk pipes with the right amount of chemicals, because you don't want to underdose because then it doesn't kill all of it. You don't want to overdose because that can be problematic too. Really cool systems that are smart systems that you can integrate and look at a dashboard for. Everyone loves a good dashboard. And big picture here, it's what businesses and industries need to do to increase their production, reopen safely, and ensure the safety of their workers and their visitors and the public as we kind of adjust into life as it is now.
Yeah, it's so important because, it makes me think of the HVAC systems, really. That's where it was introduced to me, and just this is the air we're breathing. We need to, check it out. Yes. I haven't read the article to know if this is specific to HVAC piping, but if it's everywhere. So, this possibility. So let's think about it. Let's, check out our systems, and this will be a great article to review before we get into that.
Yes, it definitely does mention like air compressors and ACs in these large buildings. So it covers that. And it's a really, probably like a 10-minute read. But if you're wondering how these things work, it goes into explicit detail that I think is really interesting, that I learned a lot. And I'm assuming you'll learn even more in the industry, since you understand these things with a greater knowledge than I start with sometimes. So
she doesn't give herself enough credit. She is now an industry influencer in the pump industry. So y'all give her a shout out. She's been doing it for over a year. We are, what do we say? Episode 74, which is not even. Right. We've been doing bonus episodes. So much information in the pump industry. So
I've learned so much. You can learn a lot too. Go read this article. It'll be in the show notes. It'll also be in your inbox. And now we get to move to our favorite segment, the industry interview. Who'd you bring today, Charli?
I brought Shadrach Stephens, who is an amazing award-winning engineer. He's a leader in our industry. He's really the global improvement director, but he's doing so much other stuff. He is the founder of Re.engineer, which is this digital magazine that he's put together and highlighting people in STEM, which that's just the top of it. These productions have videos and imagery and creative. It's the most creative book I have seen, and I create my own book. So I am in awe of what he's creating here for the STEM industry.
He's goals. Like, he is who I want to be when I grow up. All the amazing content that he highlights, and the goal of Re.engineer to help close the gap for people of color in STEM, I think is just, it's inspiring, and that magazine is doing it. He's doing amazing things.
Yeah. And, he was featured in the Day of the Life in our digital magazine. And from that day on, we had a conversation, it's funny. So from time to time, he'll throw out that we had a mentoring conversation, and I'm laughing, I'm gaining from you here. And so I just think he's a remarkable professional, and is really going to help us, in the space of empowering women in industry as well, because we're talking about male allies. We do go into that a little bit in his interview, but he is a male ally for so many people, both male and female, STEM and other media sources. He's just inspiring. So I won't go into it all. We'll leave some for you.
Agree. Okay, so without further delay, here's your interview.
I'm so excited to have you with me, Shadrach, for the Empowering Industry podcast. I have been on several meetings with you. I think I fell for you and all that you stand for on one of the maintenance community panels that we were on. But I always start by letting you talk about yourself, because I could go on for days. So just tell us your story. What do you do?
Yeah, so I think lots to talk about today, and excited to be here. And thank you for really, extending the olive branch for me to be here. Shadrach Stephens, who is he? I think, first and foremost, above anything, I am a husband, I'm a father, and I'm an advocate for improvement, whether or not that's in my own life, in the community, or just serving as a leader. Just like any other person, I like to see positive progression, right? And I take that from my corporate lifestyle to at home, and then, like I said, across the community. I like to see people going from point A to point B, and that's just natural from even me as growing up as a kid. I started my career about 20 years ago in manufacturing, and I've been really focused around maintenance and reliability, and up until this point now, progressed to becoming a global improvement and also reliability director for Dow Inc. In order to really kind of sustain that growth and development, I've really been a proponent of value creation. So, many times in the maintenance field or industry, some may feel that we don't have the voice it takes to really be successful in the discipline. But I really challenge that. I think that we are enablers of value in terms of partnerships with operations and production. So yeah, I've been on this journey and trying to see how I can create more value, not just within my corporate workplace or even in the community.
Well, you are absolutely doing that. And I love how you say that, creating value. It really does play in that creative side of what you're doing. And so for all of you, if you haven't done this yet, go check him out on LinkedIn and see all of the great resources he's been involved in. Let's start with Re.engineer. This is, your creation, your I guess, idea and coming to life. And it's remarkable. So tell us about that.
Yeah, and so maybe it's my idea initially, but one thing we'll talk about more is I really believe in the power of collaboration, and we have so many wonderful subject matter experts and professionals, and even young students that are collaborating to make Re.engineer what it's all really about. Initially, we came up with this idea because we really wanted to bridge the gap of development across all of the STEM disciplines. And as I mentioned, I've been blessed to connect with other people, other professionals that have the same common mission. And we started out just kind of capturing case studies. I think many times we think about mentorship is the end all to be all for really driving career success. And in some cases, you just really need a quick idea or quick understanding of how you can be successful in your projects or even becoming an engineer. And so we published, several case studies to kind of get people enticed into how they create more value in their workplace. And what I found out is that there's so many folks around this community within manufacturing and across STEM that want more, right? They want to be able to plug in to a deeper meaning of what collaboration is. And so we kind of pivoted from just only focusing on the core engineering stuff to now being today what we're more creative. Right. And somebody told me the other day, say, Re.engineer is not necessarily a technical community. It's a media company where we're really focused on telling stories.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I can relate to that with our media company and seeing how you're growing that. And that's the beauty of creation is like you can shift it and change it and make it your own. I know I love that about media, but also you get to talk to everybody and share their story. So that's unlimited content right there. You talked a little bit about it, collaboration. You've got so many different people you're working with. I really like how you showcase people of color, and it's really it's beautiful for one, but I also love how you combine engineering and fashion and just the interests of others into this Re.engineer. And it really is re-engineering the way you think. And I love it. So.
Yeah, if you think about just the key word, re-engineering, the concept behind it, it's taking some existing person, people, process, or system, and creating more value from that existing belief. And so re-engineering is also how can we be our best self, right? And you hear a lot of this in the whole diversity, inclusion, and equity space. Is people feel intimidated that they have to really be their self at work. Or even, they carry different personas, one at work, one at home.
Right.
And, if you think about the type of work we do in the technology, yeah, it's very, specific in the discipline, but we also have lives that, we are in fashion, we are in music, we do take part in the community activities. And for me, if we want to reach out to the next generation of STEM leaders, we have to be innovative in our approach. And that's where the media part comes into it. Is that most of the stuff you see on social media today, if you don't capture the attention within 3 to 5 seconds of a person, right? I mean, yeah, right. So we're competing against funny videos and cat pictures and stuff of that nature. And so we really try to be really appetizing to that next generation and really show them that you can be yourself, you can have success in your career, you can collaborate across multiple disciplines. And still really drive a successful career. So in reference to, our focus around the minority representation in STEM, there's so many activities just around the corner here from my home here around Houston, Texas. There are, I think, 7 or 8 STEM programs where they have like a STEM academy, There's even a STEM daycare for the little kids. And so there's so much programming around STEM. But if you look at on the back end, the data suggests that the number of African Americans that are graduating in STEM disciplines is actually going down year over year, right? So a lot of focus, but it's not leading us to success in terms of number of people that's going into the discipline. And so, back to what I said, Re.engineer is about really trying to solve that problem. How can we get more young professionals, students encouraged to go and really drive to becoming STEM professionals? And then how can we also use this platform to be a voice for those that are underrepresented? So yeah, initially we said, we're going to solve that problem. But as I've been on this journey for about two and a half years, what I found out there are some amazing African-American STEM professionals around the world. And the difference maker is their stories aren't being told. And so this year we started with the Re.engineer magazine to really be a tool to showcase this outstanding talent. We have folks from our, entrepreneurs to Fortune 500 leaders, to even young professionals that are highly recruited out of their university. And we really try to be that extension of their story and really tell the world the amazing work that they're doing.
Yes, well, I have all the chills, all the feels, everything, because I'm just so proud and happy that we are sharing their stories and that we get to meet them and, be part of our community, grow our community as a whole. I am a big fan of yours. I feel like you are one of our allies, that you support us. And so for me, it's women, right? That's my passion in empowering women. I am a woman, so I feel like I have a little bit that I know a little bit about it. But we definitely need male allies, and I'm really excited to be on and create this webinar with you and the maintenance community on male allyship. And I think part of this and your reasoning, I guess, behind this is what you've learned by digging into this data, what you've learned by, looking at the STEM fields and how do we get more people involved. And part of it is we need male allies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And actually, just to give a quick plug. So yesterday, August 26th was Women's Equality Day.
Yes.
And so we know how memorable that day was or is for us, just really because, the federal government denied, or they put in, an amendment for people that were denying the right to vote for women based on sex. And if I look at STEM and specifically around the engineering discipline, there have been so many, outstanding women that I've worked with that have really even brought me up or trained me and mentored me into becoming the professional who I am today. And some of the stats I read is just still so alarming that even, that we are preaching in the society, even across the world, that we want to drive more equality. The data suggests that we have still a long way to go. And I'm excited about doing the webinar in partnership with you, and then also the maintenance community on Slack. And so I guess one of the key data points that I resonated with is there was a survey done around several hundred men and women across the country. And one of the questions was, hey, do men feel like they're doing everything that they can to support women? And 77% of the men that took the survey said, yes, we are male allies. We're supporting our women in industry, and we're there to really help them be successful in their career. But when they asked the women the same question, only 41% of them said they agree.
Yeah.
And so there's a tremendous gap on the perception versus the reality, right? And so if we ask the key stakeholders, which are the women, really, are we supportive? Are we taking action to be supportive? Not just are we talking the talk, but are we backing it up with some substantial action? That's not the case. So yeah, with the male allyship, I mean, I've always been supportive of women in industry, even when I started out in my career. But going forward, I want to be more intentional. And I think if we can open up channels like this one and others to really have this conversation on how we can take action, I think that's going to lead us to success. I think it's really time out for programs and initiatives. I think we got to get our sleeves rolled up and get our hands dirty and understand how we can be that more intentional as men. And not only just for myself and as I learned on this journey, but I want to invite other men to take part of this, because really, I think we need to adjust or realign our lenses to make sure that we are we understand and we're having conversation about what are some of the hot topics that women have to face as they progress in the industry. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think it's about the conversation. I laugh and, kind of joke around sometimes saying, even my best supporter, can't get it because it doesn't happen to them. And so you can't understand it. But having the conversation, you can have empathy and try to, figure out ways to change the process that might be limiting people or look for more understanding in certain areas that you lack in. And I think it's about having the conversation and on the other side, us ladies need to be able to talk to these men about the things that bother us and not just keeping it to ourselves. And so I think both of us can get better at communicating, which I think is wonderful that we are doing that. And I am seeing it happen. And I just platforms like yours and mine, being able to share it and know that it's important to do, I think is a really big part of that. Okay, so we're going to have this I want to call it a campaign. We're going to be talking about this in the month of September, but we're also going to have the Empowering Women in Industry Conference, which is October the 21st. And we do have a panel discussion. It's a session actually by ABB, who's going to talk about how to become a male ally. So it's really kind of going to be longer of a conversation than just September, but it all ties together and we really are trying to build a better workforce for everyone.
Yeah. And so I actually had a conversation with someone in a meeting a few weeks ago, and they heard that I had actually given a talk within my company in Dow about this topic. And they asked me, they were very blunt. They asked me, they said, do you really believe that women can be just as successful, especially around in the maintenance arena? Mm-hmm. And I told them a story. There was a young lady that we featured on Re.engineer. Her name is Chloe Sales, and she's out of the UK, and she's actually a welder. She's just kind of wrapping up her apprenticeship to become a full-fledged welder. And I heard her do an interview one time, and she said, really there is a difference in just the economy of men and women. But she said, actually, women are better welders than men. And I was like, okay,
I've heard that too.
Did you hear that story? Okay. And she said,
I've heard that in general, not your story, but I've heard that in general.
But the driver behind her statement was, she said, women are more attentive to detail than men are. Mm-hmm. And I gotta agree, even between me and my wife, I think she is a little bit more attentive than I am in certain aspects. But in that discipline, in that industry of becoming a welder, you have to be, because there's a lot of dexterity involved in welding. And so you have to have a strong attention to detail. Sure, she can, grab a 50-pound piece of a pipe and strap it across her shoulder and carry it across the shop. That's not a concern. But if she needs to, she can go get assistance. But her point of view is that in many jobs, actually, women provide a different perspective on how to be successful in that job. So that's the same sentiment I shared with the other individual. And it's that, to my earlier point, it's we got to adjust our lenses to see really what the possibility is for women in roles, even in the maintenance industry.
Yeah, that example makes me think we shouldn't have anybody having to carry things around. Why can't we have, a robot or a system that can, take that labor off of us in general? And I know that that's part of manufacturing, lean manufacturing, trying to figure those things out. And so I do love that. I love that we just bring a different mindset. A lot of people have different talents. I tried welding and I am not that talented at it. I said it's like being an artist, like, having a paintbrush. It was very, I just say talented. They are talented people. And so, what can we do? And the big thing is, if you're at work, which there are women at work in all of these industries, they need to feel safe and secure in their environment. And we can have conversations about that. We also, to your point earlier, we need more people in the STEM fields. I'll say STEAM fields because I like the arts too. And, bring them in and, teach them how to be successful, and then teach our companies how to keep them there. And that's what I think a lot of it's about. I don't know. So I could talk to you all day.
I think another key component is, as I'm learning and doing more of these conversations, I think you are by far, one of the leaders in opening up the conversation. Is we need, we need our female counterparts to be just, honest with us and tell us when things aren't working the way they should be. And so I recently done a survey. Well, not recently. Last year I did a survey, and I asked over 100 people, what are some of the challenges with, engagement in the workplace? And I separated the men from the women because I wanted to kind of see the parallels and the opportunities. And we looked at, do you think you're paid well? Is your compensation package well? Have you received a promotion in the last several years? Are you challenged in your work? Do you feel like you're on a mission? Do you have like a game plan or for your career or vision for your career? And I'll put you on the spot. What do you think are some of the top issues that came out in the survey?
Well, I just answered a question on LinkedIn about this, but career progression is what I checked as like the number one thing for women, is that they can't progress as fast in their careers. I would think definitely like childcare and that kind of thing would be top in there. On the women's side, I'm talking for women, but I see this as an issue in childcare for men as well, especially like in the mining industry where you're off site and there's no schools and that kind of thing. Resources, having access to the leaders and the people that you need. That's what my main, I guess, vision of it. Being paid the right amount is definitely something that is there, but I think it all kind of comes together of, okay, what is that person doing? What if they don't have a plan for their career, then like they're not going to progress. And we sometimes don't even think about what a career trajectory should be. So it's just interesting. Yeah. I'm curious.
So all of those things you said actually came up in the survey. So you've been doing your homework. The top two were, and you hinted on this, but they haven't received a promotion in the last 5 years. Right. So even though they feel like they're supported by their team, they do have, somewhat of a mission. And when it comes time to them to make a jump up in a promotion or get some different experiences, most of the women on the survey said that they were not enabled to get that. The second one was that they also haven't received a significant increase in their base pay over the last 5 years. And in the two different opportunities, when you look at the men, that wasn't a big issue for them. Of course, that men had other comments around challenges they have, maybe more around mentorship, maybe appreciation for the job that they do, but it wasn't either getting paid or getting promotional opportunities. And so I think as a part of the larger conversation, we have to goes back to my being intentional. We have to ask these questions and kind of get the feedback from our female counterparts, and then strategically work on those things. Right. Yes. So if you're in a position of leadership, so I always do this when I step into a new role as a leader. Within the first week or so, I'm looking at the salaries of all of my employees. I want to make sure that they are competitive, even within the department, but then even outside of the department. And if there's any discrepancy I see, we try to work with human resources to correct that. So I think as men leaders, when you talk about what's the role of a male ally, if you're in leadership, you should be advocating for more of that. If you're not particularly in leadership, I think you should really be volunteering to mentor your female counterparts, even help them achieve a promotion, right? Or at least get some expanded responsibilities in their role.
Yeah, I think it is a big thing that comes up. And, just over the last 3 years where we've been working with women specifically is that negotiation skills, knowing your value, knowing what you want to do. And, even the values, I think all of us can take a lesson in learning about our real values and staying true to them. But, some of them are just at the basic level. How do you even start? Knowing what you do, what you have done, and that you're valuable. Let's start there. But I think to your point, having that male allyship and being able to lean on them, what do you think, and being able to ask that question, it just feels different. Yeah. than hanging around. So we appreciate that and look for ways to have those conversations on a larger scale.
Yeah. So I won't go through, more details around my conversations as of late, because we're going to save that for the webinar.
Yes.
But yeah, I think the real challenge is, in the conversations that I have had, is really the engagement. Because I am obviously a man, and when you walk into these forums and you say, "Hey, I'm here to really be more supportive," there is somewhat of a bit of a hesitation, and women sometimes say, "Okay, what's this guy's motivation? What is he really after?" Right? And so, need support also from people like yourself to help us break through some of those barriers, because there are many men like myself who really want to understand this topic or this issue, just because it's the right thing to do. Number one. The second thing is, I mentioned, how much I love value creation and things of that nature. There have been several people that have been partners with me on a lot of the work I've done in my career, and at the main, stay of that, it's been women have supported me. Mm-hmm. And case in point, this young lady that I worked with many years ago, she owns the project, or she was the project manager for building the world's largest solar tower in
That's
Israel.
awesome.
Right. And so we joke about it now, but we used to work together, as junior engineers. And there's so many other examples I could give. But if we want to see more progress in the maintenance reliability space in manufacturing, across the STEAM disciplines, we have to, be more intentional about how do we include and be more diverse in the people that drive solutions in that space. And if more than half of the population, the world's population, are women, we need higher representation in those areas.
Yeah, and get feedback, and innovate and create, and we all come together, and that's just going to make such a better workforce. I'm so excited to have these conversations with you, Shadrach, and I will put in the show notes all of our details and things that we've created together. But as far as somebody reaching out to you directly, how do you want them to do that?
Yeah, so if you want to at least get a chance to experience the Re.engineer platform, go to our website at re.engineer.co, specifically around the work we're doing with having these conversations. Re.engineer.co/stimulate, and stimulate is our opportunity to really have a discussion around some of these hot topics in the industry. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Shadrach Stephens, on Instagram at Re.engineer. I think that's the best way to kind of get plugged in. Please check out the website, and which will also direct you to the magazine. We've been having some tremendous success with it. The first two issues, and so we just started in 2021, and we're on a quarterly frequency. The first two issues did relatively well. This last one over the summer, man, it's just been mind-blowing, the amount of feedback that we've been receiving. Definitely going in the right direction with storytelling, but please feel free to visit our website for more information.
Awesome. Okay. I can't let you go without doing like a little rapid fire, because I'm just curious. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I want to know what your favorite book is.
Favorite book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Nice. Okay. And favorite song?
Favorite song, Jay-Z PSA, Public Service Announcement. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to listen to that one. And then best advice you were ever given.
Best advice I was ever given, actually, by my wife. Quick plug to Marie, my wife. She coined the term, I need to be more aggressively patient.
Aggressively patient.
Aggressively patient, meaning, some things may not happen tomorrow, but be prepared and be working through the process, right? Wow. So don't be so quick to jump at things, but prepare yourself in preparation for the moment.
That's really good. Okay, so now it's your turn. You got to leave people with a little bit of advice. What advice do you give others?
My advice, and no matter if it's in your career and in the workforce or at home, if you've really focused on trying to solve a problem, one of the things I've learned is you have to have a razor sharp focus. And there's a saying that says there will always be more great ideas than you have the capacity to execute. So what that means is we sometimes get into a position where we just take on so much responsibility that we end up doing nothing in progress to our dreams and our goals. So I always say, have a razor sharp focus, whatever you're trying to accomplish in life, And like my wife mentioned, be aggressively patient as you move towards it.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Shadrach. It's been such a fun time, and I look forward to just in a couple of weeks getting to share the screen with you again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we're back. Charli, thanks so much. Shadrach, thanks for being on the show. Amazing interview. And I hope that all the listeners, I hope you loved it as well. Let us know what you thought. Drop a comment in our YouTube or send us something on social media with that hashtag. And we'd just love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. And, I love also just one more shout out. Everybody who shares these Empowering Industry podcasts, I see you on our Empowering Pumps activity boards. Yeah. And I'm just so thankful for you because it really does make a difference to that interview person that we interview because it's their life. It's what they're passionate about. So thank you for sharing. It does bring us to the end of the show. Thanks for listening.
Do us a favor, subscribe, rate, review the podcast, all of the things. It helps us out.
Yes, and we talked about that, but also mention us, use the hashtag Empowering Industry Podcast. It makes it easy for me to see you. And you can email me, podcast@Empowering Pumps. If you want to be on the podcast, please let me know there too.
And we'll be back every Monday.
So until then, be empowering. We should go dancing somewhere. Oh, we're doing it.
You're coming to Houston.
I am coming to Houston.
October.